How's it going, everybody? In the last Pirate video I mentioned I was going to do a video about hyper armor timing, so here we are. The topic is certainly ever present in the game, and as I cannot cover all nuances and all moves that have hyper armor at the moment, we're going to look at two different types of moves. Since this is all with Pirate as the main context, those two are going to be, for one, chain heavy hyper armor, and then forward dodge heavy hyper armor. If you're interested in other moves, we've gone over charged bash hyper armor quite extensively when Warmonger released. You can go back and look at some of those videos if you want that info or need a refresher on knowledge you already have. And at the end of this video we can talk about why Lawbringer deserves hyper armor on so many of his moves. But until we get to this point, let's start with the chain heavies. We're going to compare the following characters: Raider, Warlord, Pirate and Warmonger. I know there are more, but let's limit a little bit or you'll just tune out because of all the numbers. So when looking at these numbers here, we can see some clear differences. In Raider's case, we have seen what late hyper armor timings did to the hero, because one of the TGs had them at 400 or something, which made the hero terrible in teamfights. The ability to effectively trade with these heavies is what, to this day, makes him quite an effective teamfighter. Among many other things, but the hyper armor timing certainly plays its part. Warlord sits somewhere in between, but keep in mind he also has hyper armor on his neutral heavies, so I can understand that Ubisoft is trying to balance it out a little, or it's just a remnant of a time where hyper armor timing wasn't earlier. And then Warmonger on the other end of the spectrum with the really late armor. 300 ms before impact to be exact, so it's not like Raiders that has the 100 ms startup, no matter how fast the attack is, but in her case, it's dependent on the speed of the attack. And then Pirate, the same as Raider, the best hyper armor you can ask for currently. Let's give context here. In 1v1 scenarios, these timings matter very little since we are talking chain heavies here. In chain, you have enough frame advantage to not be interrupted anyways, at least on these heroes here. So unless we're talking hyper armor against hyper armor, meaning two people just wailing away at each other, like let's take Warmonger and Raider, then the timing might actually matter. But overall, it plays a much bigger role in teamfights, where you can get punishes in simply because the opponent did not have the tools to interrupt you. Then it becomes a lot about understanding and knowing when you can trade your health away to do damage to somebody else, because just mindlessly relying on the hyper armor will get you killed pretty quickly. One thing that is of importance for the fast hyper armor timing, mostly for Raider and Pirate, is that it is possible to get armored guard breaks, as the armor kicks in before the feint window, so you can get hit but not be interrupted and then GB the recovery. This interaction was also one of the reasons Ubi moved towards later armor timings for a while, with the Raider rework marking the comeback of those. But moving on to the second portion, the forward dodge heavies. We're going to look at Warlord again, then Jormungandr and, of course, Pirate. Since there is variability in terms of input timing, meaning when you can activate it into the dodge, we are limiting this to the earliest possible one. That is 100 ms for Pirate, 100 for George, and then 300 ms for Warlord. And the hyper armor kicks in at 500 ms for Warlord on a 900 ms move, at 700 ms for Jorm on a 1 second move, and then for Pirate it's 400 ms on a 800 ms attack. There is no real pattern here, this is just individually assigned. What we need to look at are how these moves are used. Both Warlords and George's most likely use is to chase down fleeing or rolling opponents. Especially in Warlord's case, as the move is unfeintable, you cannot use it as liberally as the other two. And then for Pirate, it is regarded as an opener. At low MMR, people screech about the 50-50, and at the highest level, it's not working too well, especially in 1v1 scenarios. We also need to put this into further perspective, as an on-demand, unblockable move out of neutral will always find a use and will never really be bad. When I proposed to remove the hyper armor on Pirate's dodge heavy, I got as a response that it will then be light interruptible. Well, yes, maybe even on the reaction, depending on what we use as a starting point for that reaction. We're looking at anything between 2 and 400 ms. but it's also not really the only interruptible attack, and it's also quite punishable if you expect it. I don't know, I can see the argument for the armor, but I also think that the move is overloaded with it. It's not the hyper armor that makes it a working opener, because it already isn't one. A nerf's a little counterintuitive, I get that. What I'm trying to point out here is that these moves do not serve the same purpose on all of these heroes. This is partly dictated by the properties it has, be it unblockable, feintable, chain potential and so on, making some of them niche but effective at it, while others have a wider use yet are more susceptible to being punished. We could see that back in the day when the armor of Aramusha and George could shift it backwards, because the forward dodge heavy was used as an option select to beat feint to light on top of all the other options. So when comparing armor timings for chain heavies, it's easy as chain heavies tend to all work very similarly. On these forward dodge heavies, a direct comparison doesn't really hold up all that well, as there are quite a few differences that need to be considered on top of it. So, next time you complain about hyper armor, please consider the context. What exactly are you complaining about? Because you couldn't randomly interrupt someone in a team fight? That's not really a reason to complain now, is it? That's on you for not punishing your opponent correctly. Hit him with a bash, use your superior block, dodge the move, and then punish the follow-up. A lot of people complain about the mindless button mashing, but at the same time we see complaints about things that punish exactly that. And any arguments that are based on realism should be disregarded completely as well. It doesn't fucking matter whether you have a half-naked man with hyper armor and a fully armored knight with hyper armor too, just not on the moves you want. It makes you look stupid as the agenda always clearly shines through. It's like complaining about Pirate and at the very end mentioning that she's gender-locked. As if that makes any difference whatsoever, all you're trying is to rally additional idiots to your cause. Make proper arguments why hyper armor should be removed or added to moves. Maybe then people will actually listen to you and you can have a proper dialogue where both parties can learn something from it and maybe even come up with a better idea or solution in the end. Well, and I guess I can leave you with that. Many different hyper armor timings can work. You just need to realize what the purpose of it is. And I hope I made that a little clearer today. Having said that, hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.